Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Um today we're learning the fourth Perek of Sukkah. We're finishing Sukkah tomorrow, and Mr. Shem we're starting Beitzah on Sunday. Here we go. As I was just saying that this next month, which is the last, the Siyum on Seder Moed is going to be Thursday, March 12th, in my house in Muncie. Um, Details will be forthcoming. And so this next month we have about another month left of Moed. This is like the honeymoon of Shas. The Masechtas are short. Their topics we're all familiar with pretty much. And then on March 13th, when we go into Nashim, and we start dealing with Yivamis and Ksubis and all of those Masechtas and everything, that's that's going to be a bit more challenging, but Richard Shem will do it just fine. So tell people to come join our Shia, watch it on YouTube. You know, help us join the movement, and Richard Shem together we will finish Shaf Mishnayos in time for the Siyam Shas, and which is Rosh Chodesh Sivan of 2027. Abalina Tova. Okay, let's go. Today's shir is Leila Nishmas. Aaron Nachum Sukkah Cohen, Yeshua Mordechai Ben Shepsel, Bracha Sarah Shmuel Leib, and Bila Moshe Ben Yosef Ben Hashem Slav and Aliyah, and Full Shlema for Ada Sarah Bas Leah, Chana Pesel Bas Yanta, Yisrael Ben Achaleh, Rachel Bas Pesel Zelda, Avram Yisrael Ben Risha, Chaya Bas Dababela, Full Shlema B'Sel Shar Chal Yisrael, and the schus for Naftali Tzvi Ben Rivka Blima, Aaron Levi Ben Avram David Halevi, and Shalom Yehuda ben Chayas Sar Lindel, Shefer Bracha Vatzlacha ben Baruchas ben Mikdash, and all their endeavors. Okay, here we go. Perek Daled. Today we're talking about the all. Okay, so we know that we have the mitzvah of Sukkah, which is one mitzvah, and we know we have the mitzvah of aravah, which is another mitzvah. There are that's two, but there are another five mitzvahs that apply on Sukkot, making a total of seven. We all discussed two so far, so let's go through these. Perek Dal Mishnah Aleph lulav aravah shisha v'shiva. The mitzvah of lulav, which is taken the arba and the mitzvah of the aravah, walking around the mizbeach holding the aravos and leaning them against the mizbeach, are performed in the base of Mikdash either on 6 days of Sukkot or on 7 days of Sukkot. Because sometimes they override Shabbos and sometimes they do not, and we're going to discuss that soon. Hallel, the Simcha Shmona, the mitzvah of reciting hallel and the mitzvah of rejoicing are performed on all 8 days of the Chag, meaning the 7 days of Sukkot and 1 day of Shmini Atzeres. So that's already lulav and aravah is 2, hallel and simcha is 4, Sukkah v'nisach Hamayim, that's Shiva. So Sukkah, which is number 5, and Nisach Hamayim is 6. Right, those are done all 7 days. They would do the mitzvah Sukkah for 7 days, and they would do Nisach Hamayim for 7 days. And number 7 is hallel chamisha v'shisha, and the mitzvah of playing the flute together with the other musical instruments at the Simchas Mitzvah Shaveva is performed either on 5 days or on 6 days because it is not done on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So that's 7 mitzvahs. Obviously, the Nisach Hamayim and the hallel are not nogei as manazeh, but the other 5 are. We don't do the aravah all 7 days. We do that only 1 day. We still have a lulav. You have aravahs on Hoshana Rabbah. You have hallel. You have simcha, and you have sukkah. You still have 5 mitzvahs that we can still do nowadays. Mishnah Beis lulav shiva cases. So how is it possible for the mitzvah lulav to apply on either on 6 days or on 7 days? Yom Tov Harishon Shel Chag Shechalis B'Shabbos Lulav Shiva. If the first day of Yontif fell on Shabbos, then the lulav is taken on all 7 days because it is a deraisa on the first day. Um, they they did not overturn in the times of the Mishnah. They did not yet overturn the mitzvah of the first day of Yontif. But if the mitzvah, but if the first day falls on any other day of the week, putting Shabbos in the Shabbos and Sukkah on any day other than the first day of Yontif, then they uprooted it. Oh, maybe I clicked the page. Okay. Mishnah Gimel, aravah shiva case. So how is it possible for mitzvah of aravah to apply on 7 days or on 6 days? Yom Shvi shel aravah shechalias v'Shabbos aravah shiva. If Hoshana Rabbah, it's known as Hoshana Rabbah, it's the 7th day of Sukkot, falls on Shabbos, then they would do the aravah ceremony on 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 all 7 days. If the 7th day, if Hoshana Rabbah fell on the other day of the week, then then Shabbos was a different numbered day of the Chag. They wouldn't bring the aravos on that Shabbos. Shar kol yom shisha, right? Um, and as I just said, Mishnah Dalit, mitzvahs lulav ketzad. How is the mitzvah of lulav performed on Shabbos inside the Beis Mikdash? Yom Tov Harishon Shel Chag Shechal Yis Shabbos. When the first day Yom Tov falls on Shabbos, Malichin as to Levei Harbayis discusses, I guess today, that the people brought to the lulav to the Harbayis before Shabbos. V'hachazan mekabel mehen v'sodrin osan al gava itztava, and stewards took the lulav from them and arranged them on the row of benches on the Harbayis. As the Canaan manichin eshelehen belishka, elderly men who were afraid of being pushed when everyone comes to take his lulav the next day. Apparently, that was an issue back then too. They left theirs in a chamber that was designated for that purpose, for they could safely retrieve them in the morning. Malamdin Osalomar, members of the court taught everyone to say, Kol Mishamagia Lulav Biyado Hare Hu Love Matana. If anyone receives my lulav, let it be his as a gift. Since everyone's getting a lulav, then if you took the wrong one, you were able. This was done so that people, if they took the wrong lulav, they would be mated the lulav to someone else because they got different lulav. I mean, apparently they didn't spend so much money on lulav back in the day, so that there was no so makbid on which one was actually theirs. The next day, Shabbos, they came to the Harbayis early in the morning. The Chazanin Zark, and the officials of this ministry would throw the lulav at them for them. They would grab them, which is kind of dangerous in many ways. You damage the lulav, it goes to hurt someone. The hain, the chatvin, umakin ish is chavero. But in their eagerness to perform the mitzvah with their own lulav, they would grab the lulav and hit one another. Because Shiro, based in Shibala de Sakana, when the court saw that the people were coming to danger, Hiskinu Shiyahei Kol Echa Echa Noto Bebeso. They established that everyone should perform the mitzvah of Araminim in their home and not in the Beis Mikdash or in a shul. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder why they thought that was a good idea to throw the lulav at people at the beginning point, and I guess this is referring to on Shabbos, that on Shabbos they would take the Araminim in their home and not in the Beis Mikdash because they're not going to carry them on Shabbos. But even nowadays we don't shake lulav even at home on Shabbos. It's a question to ponder. Okay, now for today, Mishnah Hey. Mitzvahs aravah ketzad. How is the mitzvah of the aravah performed? Malkum haya Matim Yerushalayim and Nikra Motza. There was a place below Yerushalayim at the foot of the mountain called Motza, where aravos grew in abundance. Yardin Lasham Umalaktin Misham Rubius Shalarava. The agents of the basin went down there. They gathered large aravos from there and brought them to the base of Mikdash. Avoim Jezokvin Oson Bitzita Hamizbeach, Roshei and Kefufin Al Gabi Hamizbeach. And Kohanim came and took the aravos, marched with them around the Mizbeach, and then stood them up against the sides of the Mizbeach with their ends bent over the top of the Mizbeach. So you know that the Mizbeach from bottom to top is 10 amos tall. From the base all the way up to the keren of the Mizbeach is 10 amos, and the aravos were draped over the Mizbeach, so they had to be like almost 11 amos. Taku, Variu, Taku. They blew on their trumpets, a tekiah, and then a trua, and then another tekiah as an expression of joy. B'chol yom makifan as hamizbech pam achas omrim anishte Sukkahs except for this. And each the first 6 days of Sukkahs, they marched around the mizbech one time, chanting, "Ana Hashem Mashiach, Ana Hashem Maslichana." Please Hashem save us now. Please Hashem bring success now. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ani v'ho Hoshiana. Ani v'ho Hoshiana. Rabbi Yehuda says that they chanted Ani v'ho, save us now. Interesting that the Bartanur points out that Ani v'ho is a shortened form of Misha Ani Hu B'tzara. That the one described as Hashem, I and he are in suffering. This is a Hashem by who it says Imo Anochi B'tzara. So Ani v'ho is an interaction of Ani v'hu. Interesting. Also hayom akifin es hamizbeach shiva pamim. However, on the Shana Rabbah, on the 7th day, they marched around the Mizbeach 7 times. This is why it's called Hoshana Rabbah, because it's many Hoshanas. B'shas Petirasa Mahin Omrim, when they're about to leave after performing the aravah ceremony on the 7th day, what did they say? The beauty of the ceremony is for you, O Mizbeach, and they repeat that. Rabbi Yehuda says, La Hashem, L'cha Mizbeach, La Hashem, L'cha Mizbeach. To Hashem, we express acknowledgement, and to you, O Mizbeach, we express praise, and they repeat that a second time. I was wondering, like, where did it come from then to have like these shorter aravos that we have for Shana Rabbah? If they were doing what they did in the Mikdash, and all the aravos were like 11 amos tall, those do exist nowadays, but the minhag is to use the shorter aravos. So where did that minhag come from? I don't know. And where does it come from to clap them on the floor like that? That's also not in the Mishnah. That's like later on in Kabbalistic sources. No, food for thought. Mishnah Vav. Just as it was performed on a weekday, mean the first 6 days of Yontif, so it's also performed on Shabbos of Yontif. Except that on Shabbos they gathered the aravos and bring them to the base of Mikdash before Shabbos, but you couldn't cut them on Shabbos. Also b'gigoyos zahav kadesh lo yichmoshu, and placed them in golden barrels filled with water so that they would not wilt overnight. Yochanan ben Broka says, Charios shel dekel hayim avian. They are bringing hardened palm palm branches to the base of Mikdash. Bechoftin also bekarka b'tzidei mizbeach, and beat them on the ground at the sides of the mizbeach. Also, Yom Nikra Yom Kibbutz Chares. Oh, there we go. This is what you're talking about. And that day, every day of Sukkot was called the beating of the branches. So they would actually do this with palm branches, actually, not with the Hoshtanas that we do. Mishnah Zion. Miyad Hatinokus Shomtin as Levein V'Ochen Esrogein. The adults would grab the children's lulav from the hands of the children and eat the children's esrogim. This is not considered stealing because the Chachamim permitted this custom for the sake of enhancing the Simchas Yantif, and they have the power to declare a person's properly hefker, and therefore they can take them. Interesting that they didn't take their own; they would take the ones of they would take the esrogim of the kids, because the kids was only for chinuch and not for the mitzvah, and you can't use the esrog on Hoshana Rabbah for personal use. You have to wait another day. Mishnah Ches, hallel v'simcha shmona. So we said that the mitzvahs of hallel and simcha apply for 8 days. Kate said, how is this to be understood? It teaches that a man is obligated in the mitzvahs of hallel, rejoicing and honoring on the last yontav of the festival, which is Shmini Atzeres. Honoring includes, among many other things, making preparations that covered yontav, washing oneself, tidying up the house and the table, wearing clean clothing as you do for a normal yontav. You also need to do that for Shmini Atzeres. Sukkah Shiva, mitzvah Sukkah applies for all 7 days. How is this? Kate said, how is that to understood? Gemara Melecho Lo Yatir Sukkah teaches that when one has finished eating his last meal on the 7th day of Sukkot, he should not untie the binding of the Sukkah and take it apart, because the mitzvah of Sukkah remains enforced the entire day, obligating him that if he studies or naps or eats another meal, to do so in the Sukkah. However, from the time of Mincha and on, he can bring down into his house all the utensils and bedding that used in the Sukkah, because he thereby gives honor to the last day of Yontif, Shmini Atzeres, by preparing for its evening meal in advance. And this applies mostly in Eretz Yisrael, when nobody sits in the Sukkah on the 8th day of Sukkot. And Shmini Atzeres, not Ashkenazim, not Sfardim, everyone sits in the house. There's no Sveg Yoma. And Chutz La'aretz, there's a machlokas whether you sit in the Sukkah on the 8th day or not, and therefore we don't do these things until Shmini Atzeres. Mishnah Tes. We've got 2 more to go. Mishnah Tes and Yid. Let's get through this. Nisach Hamayim Ketzad. How is the mitzvah of Nisach Hamayim done? Sluchish Shal Zav Magzekah Shlosha Lugin Hayim Emale Milah Shliluach. The Kohen fills a golden jug that could hold 3 lugin with water from the Shloach spring, which was near Yerushalayim. It was then brought to the Mikdash in a procession. Higiyu l'shar hamayim taku v'ariyu etaku. When they reached the water gate, the Shar Hamayim, in the southern wall of the Azara, they blew tekiah through a tekiah on their shofars as a expression of joy. Allah b'keves. It says trumpets over here. They put on trumpets. Allah b'keves. Kevesh. And the Kohen then went up the ramp of the Mizbeach, carrying the jug of water, in front of the smolo, and when he reached the top, he turned to his left and walked to the southwestern corner of the Mizbeach. Shnei Sifalim Shel Kesef Hayishon. There are 2 silver bowls there. One was for the Nisach Hamayim, which is from every day, and one was from the Nisach Hamayim on each day of Sukkot. Yehuda Omer says shall sid hayu, that the bowls. Yehuda says that the bowls were actually made of plaster, which is white. But they had a silvery gray appearance because their surfaces had been darkened from the wine poured into them every day. Umenukvin Kemin Shnei Chutmin Dakin. They had holes like two thin nostrils. These each bowl had a spout at its base in which there was a hole that looked like a nostril. Echad Meuba Echadak. The nostril of one bowl, the one that was used for wine, was wide, to hasten the flow of the thick wine, and the nostril of the other one, was used for the water, was narrow. So both of them, the wine and the water, would finish flowing out of the bowls at the same time. So the bowls were next to each other, and the western bowl, which was for the water, and the eastern bowl was for the wine. Meaning that the bowl that was on the left was for water, and the bowl that's on the right was for wine. Eira Shamayim, the Silk Shamayim, the Silk Shamayim, Yatsa. But nevertheless, if one poured from the jug of water into the bowl for the wine, or from the wine jug into the bowl for the water, his Yotze, it's good. Don't worry about it. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Belog Hayim Manasik Shmona," that the Kohen would pour from a jug containing one log of all on all 8 days, including Shmini Atzeres. And they would say to the one who pours the water, Hagba Yatcha, raise your hand when you pour. Shapam Achas Nisach Echad Al Gabi Raglev. He was told to raise his hand because it once happened that one Kohen who was a Stuki and he rejected the Torah Shabbat Peh, he deliberately poured the water onto his feet instead of into the bowl. And all the people pelted him with their srogim. From then on, they asked the Kohen to lift his hand when pouring so they could see whether he was pouring it into the bowl. And the last Mishnah, Mishnah Yud, this is what was done on a weekday, so is done on Shabbos. Except that before Shabbos, the Kohen Gadol would fill a non-Kodesh golden barrel with water from the Shaloach spring, and leave it in a chamber overnight to be used in the morning. Since he could not bring the water from the spring to the base of Mikdash on Shabbos, it was also to carry in a public domain on Shabbos. He brought it to the Mikdash on Friday, left it there until the morning. Nishbacha or Nisgalsa, if it spilled from the barrel or became uncovered, then the Kohen would refill the barrel with water from the kiyur. The reason because water may not be used, wine or water that became uncovered may not be used. The Sukkah and the Gabi Mizbeach, they are disqualified from being brought onto the Mizbeach. Okay, not too bad. Have a wonderful day. We'll continue tomorrow, the last Perek Hey of Sukkah. Kol Tov.